Well, I want to welcome you to this week's, or this couple weeks podcast. What else is new podcast? And I have Ian Parnaby, right? Okay, with Callaway. Now, Ian's a regional rep, regional director,
regional sales director
with Callaway. Okay.
Yep.
Ian came up today, and he's been with Callaway. I'll have him introduce you guys. I'll tell him all about himself here in a second. But he actually has been with Callaway for a while, and he came up here to see our facility. Had never seen our facility before.
Correct. Yeah.
Came up to see it today, and wanted to see what Graves actually does. You probably heard about us before, but you didn't really know what we did. So he came up today. But what I really want to do today is I'm going to ask Ian some questions here in a minute. But first of all, introduce yourself. We just had breakfast. We had breakfast at the Big Biscuit. That was pretty good. So,
my new favorite breakfast spot.
Yeah. Then it was a Big Biscuit.
It was a Big Biscuit. Yeah.
But we had breakfast, and then Ian, I got to introduce myself to Ian. Ian got to introduce himself to me, and it was pretty interesting. But Ian actually, he's kind of like me. Actually, when I heard his life story, I say that your golf life story,
like, oh boy,
it was very similar to mine. I was like, whoa. But anyway, I'd like you to tell everybody out there that same thing. Kind of get the story of where you came from in golf industry. Yep. They're going to hear your accent really fast. So
I'll try and lay on the accent.
Yeah. So Ollie Stanway is he'll be the first one to listen to this because he lives like an hour from you.
He might be the only one that understands me, but yeah.
So Ian, a little bit about your history, and then we'll get into a little bit about Callaway. So
like when I was younger, junior golf and all that in England, went through, played on the national teams in England, which was an awesome experience.
Right.
And then was fortunate enough to be able to go to school at the University of Tennessee.
Nice.
And follow my golf dreams and have school paid for, which was, my parents really appreciated.
So how was that going from having that accent, going from England to Tennessee?
Well, I had the whitest legs on the team, I'll tell you that.
Like
I got to the range the first day, and everyone's like, whoa, what are those things?
Never forget that.
But I remember when as a 19, my freshman year, I was 19, and I left England, and my mom is in floods of tears, and my dad's all excited for me. It was two totally,
right.
My dad's like, you're crazy if you don't go to the University of Tennessee.
Right.
Did the research, 110,000 seater football stadium, all of the above, right?
And now you're sitting, I say this because I'm Oklahoma State, and David always sitting back there and shaking his head, heck yeah, but you're sitting in SEC country at the University of Oklahoma. So up until a year and a half ago, nobody cared about him. Now everybody here hates you.
Yeah, now everyone's sick of us beating up on him, right?
Josh Heupel rolling
exactly,
it down.
Yeah, throwing up 50 points a game, whatever he's doing.
But we just had that conversation a second ago. When I say football, you're like, is that right?
Yeah, we actually play football with our feet where I grew up. Yeah,
I understand that. Yeah. Okay, so you came over to the Tennessee, played 4 years there, or did you?
99 to 03.
Okay.
Had a little bit of success, all SEC, stuff like that. Right. We had some really good teams. There was actually a year when we had 5 kids on the team from Tennessee and 5 kids from England.
Really?
That was fun.
That was cool.
Yeah.
So you weren't the only one from England.
Golf was fun. Social activities were fun.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a blast.
That's awesome.
It was an experience that was like, I'll always be grateful for it.
Yeah.
And man, I wish I could go back and do it again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All but the tests.
Yeah. Yeah. I returned all my textbooks went back with the shrink wrap on them. So, yeah. But I made it through. And then graduate college. And then crazily enough, tried to kind of pursue a career in professional golf.
Okay.
Headed back to England.
Right.
And then, like I told you at breakfast, the first thing I did was go to Asian Q school.
Right.
Which was a
experience.
Tennessee was a culture shock. Right. I landed in the Atlanta airport. I'd never been on a train in an airport before.
Wow.
So
wow. In Atlanta, like the biggest airport.
Then I get to Knoxville, go to the Walmart and buy bed sheets.
Okay.
The following day I open up a bank account. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing here, but I'm here to play golf.
Right.
So, and then, spent, it was like 2 or 3 week period at Asian Q school.
Mm-hmm.
Made it through first stage.
Nice.
I think I missed getting my card by 2-3 shots.
Okay.
And like I told you, in hindsight, I probably should have
stayed. It's time. You were a player. You could play. It's just time.
But I was scared to death, right? Yeah. Finances,
100%. Right.
A long way from home.
Right.
So then I headed back to England and started kind of the mini tour stuff over there, which wasn't great at the time. It was called the Euro Pro Tour.
Okay.
And then tried that for a couple of years on and off and wasn't really going anywhere. And then luckily enough, I reconnected. My wife and I dated in college.
Okay.
we went our separate ways, but we reconnected, and she was a college golf coach at Tennessee.
Wow. Okay.
We reconnected when she was recruiting in Wales. We reconnected, fell back in love with each other.
Right.
You know, it's a big road. I'll tell you that the full story at a different time if you want.
Okay.
And then just decided that, you know, I wanted to be with her.
Right.
So moved back to the States.
Okay.
Then started playing the Hooters Tour.
Right.
Monday qualifiers, all that stuff. And that was a blast.
Now, when you were on the Hooters Tour, because I was on the Hooters Tour for almost 5 years.
Yep.
I mean, I played full-time 3 years on it. And we had our qualifying. You were there about, I think, 7 or 8 years after I was. We talked about that this morning. When I was on the Hooters Tour in January of every year, or it was like it was early January, they'd have a qualifier for the Hooters Tour. And they'd have, I mean, it was like 200-300 people would come in. And then the top 20 or 30 would get the ace pairings.
Mm-hmm.
The next 20 would get the B, or the next one would get the next 20 would get the C, and the other ones could go still Monday qualify.
Yep.
So they never said you weren't on the tour, but unless you got through basically Hooters Tour School, you were going to have to Monday qualify.
It was crazy what it was back then.
No,
I mean, it just, it was.
Did they have the same thing when you were there?
I don't remember the qualifier part.
Okay.
Maybe that was a bit, I honestly, it was a blur.
Yeah. But because I remember doing this because I actually qualified. It was interesting because I was playing travel with Todd at the time.
Yeah.
And I got the A qualifier, but Todd got the C. So before daylight savings time, he didn't get in the events, but he'd come out with me and try to Monday qualify. Yeah. And then afterwards, I'd get great pairings. He'd get terrible. I mean, it's mini tour life, man.
I mean, one of the best stories I tell people, if, you know, doing what I do as a rep, like what David does now, you come across a lot of ambitious young golfers that think they're going to make the PGA Tour. Right. You probably do a lot of instruction with them.
100%.
And the story I tell them, and they say, what's it like on the mini tours? I said, well, the best way I can explain this is I remember there was about 6 or 7 of us that would kind of travel together.
Right.
So we caravan in the cars together. Yep. And I think we were heading from somewhere in Florida to somewhere in Alabama for the next event. We get on the phones and everyone's tired and exhausted.
Right.
And let's find a hotel. Right. Mm-hmm. So we sling it into this, whatever, Days Inn or Motel 6 or something. And this lady's got 1 room left.
Yep.
We all traveled with air mattresses.
Yep. 100%.
We paid $7 per person with breakfast.
Yep.
We put all the furniture against the wall and we slept 7 people in a room.
100%.
And I said, that's mini tour golf.
I have the exact same story. Yep. And then the only difference to the story, the addition to the story, and I gave you 2, is we would do it by who's playing the best would get the beds. Because
like
if you're going to miss the cut anyway, you're on the mattress on the floor because your back's going to hurt.
Yeah.
And one of those persons that ended up on the floor with me was Zach Johnson.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no, because I got the call from Kerry Cosby.
Yeah.
You know, and I got the call and they said, this kid's coming out. He's a really good player, blah, 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 blah. And Kerry wasn't playing out there at the time. And and I remember this was 100 years ago and it happened to be Zach. And I remember waking up one day in Red Carpet Inn, looking to the left, and he's laying on the air mattress on the floor in between the air conditioning unit and the bed.
Future Ryder Cup captain.
There he is. He's been a little more successful.
Yeah, but if you were just a few pennies behind him, you'd be good.
It's true, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just everybody went through that.
But the honestly though, like the standard on the mini tour, some of the scores that people show, I mean, it shows you like with professional golf, a lot of it is timing.
100%.
Right?
No, it's all timing.
I mean, it's unbelievable. I mean, guys would shoot 24, 26 under and it was nothing.
We call it the 7-shot rule because you go out there and play a great round of golf and you be 7 back. So you go shoot 69 and somebody shoots 62.
I have a buddy, David Skins. He still has his, he was a teammate of mine in Tennessee. He still has his tour card.
Right.
He was very successful on the Hooters Tour.
Right.
And it took him years and years. And then he got the nationwide conferee, whatever they call it. And then he finally cracked through and,
right.
But it just shows you the standard of golfers out there is.
I mean, I told you the story. I mean, I told you at breakfast this morning about I traveled with Chad Campbell.
Yeah.
And Chad Campbell's making $1 million a year out there on the Hooters Tour. And I'd call up my sponsors and they're like, Chad Campbell won. Who's this Chad Campbell? He can't be that good. He's in the mini tour. Like, you don't understand.
That run he went on, if you look back, I mean, it's worth researching. It's really impressive.
It really is.
Yep.
I mean, he was $1 million mini tour player.
Yep. Yeah.
So you played in mini tours for a few years.
Yep.
And then where'd you go from there?
And then, so kind of, it wasn't working out. I kind of had a mental rule with myself. I said, when I get to 30 years old, if I'm not to a certain point in my golf career, I'm going to do something else. And I stuck to it and I did it. Thankfully, the place I was playing and practicing at in San Antonio, Briggs Ranch, they were very kind to let me kind of house myself there. And an opportunity came up where I just became an assistant golf pro there.
Nice.
Taught a few lessons. It was at the time, it was a very exclusive club.
Okay.
And taught lessons, played with the members and all that stuff. And then you start digging into that world and kind of like, man, it's going to be a long road before I can make a good living, right?
Right.
So at the time, my wife we ended up in San Antonio because she had gone from being the assistant women's coach at Tennessee to the head women's coach at UTSA.
Well, this is just golf deluxe
right?
here. So you guys,
it's,
wow.
My kids have no choice. Right? So
how do you get away from it?
So at the time, there was only a women's coach and a men's coach, and the programs were growing, right? So they said, man, we could really use some help. So they gave me the opportunity to kind of work with both men's and women's programs. Like instruction was a passion of mine, but mainly just teaching kids how to get the ball in the hole, right? Recruiting, stuff like that. Right. So I did that for 4 years. And then I've told you the story how I ended up at Callaway.
Right.
It was just a kind of an acquaintance I'd made, a guy I'd worked for, and just kind of look at the draw. There's
a few master professionals. I'm a master professional at Callaway. I don't know how many there are now, but it's not a lot. And the gentleman you worked with, who you were assistant under, was a master professional.
Yes, correct.
Which is rare. I mean, it's not like there's only a few in each states actually. I mean, there's just a few.
Yeah, so he had made some great relationships at Callaway. So with him being based in San Antonio, he got a phone call saying, "Hey, we really need a new rep down there."
Right.
He gave him my name, and it was kind of right place at right time. And I told you about 4 months before that, I had just turned down an opportunity to be a head men's golf coach at a school in Louisiana.
Right.
So the timing, it was like, okay, something, you just kind of follow this. I'm a big believer in fate, how my wife and I got back together and how this job came around. And
when you come from overseas like that and you're having to literally, like you say, go to Walmart and buy the bed sheet, you believe in fate. When I talk to Ollie, and everybody out there knows who Ollie Stanway is, he's one of my guys that works for me, and everybody out there will know who he is. Same way. I mean, he came over, went to school over here, and his dad, mom said, good luck, and literally, how do they help him? And he said the same thing. He just had to figure everything out. Literally. But now, so then recently you've become the regional sales director for Callaway.
Yeah. So I was a local sales rep for Austin and San Antonio. I started working for Callaway at a great time. I'll be forever grateful to the company. The first golf ball I had to sell was a chrome soft.
Yeah.
Like,
wow,
this isn't that hard. Did that, took care of Austin and San Antonio for 10 years and had some success and grew the business and great relationships down there. So I still am based there.
Right.
And then an opportunity came up kind of where I could move into more of a management role.
Right.
And so now I oversee Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and half of Florida.
Wow.
Yep.
SEC country, baby.
So I wear orange everywhere I go.
SEC country. You're in the heat of it. I mean, literally, they just said, okay, pick your entire area that's the SEC, and that's your zone.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. You got to be careful in Alabama now. I mean, I've been traveling a lot down into Florida and through the Panhandle of Florida, and actually lately, and Alabama is nuts.
Yeah, they're no good anymore.
But they're diehard.
They've had their time.
I thought Oklahoma was diehard. All right. So now so tell me how many, so you're in that position with Callaway. How many other people in that same position you are at Callaway?
I think there's 7 of us across the country now. Okay. 7, maybe 8.
Okay.
And give or take.
So not very many. No. I mean, so you guys got different regions of the country. And I know there's a few that are covered, like Canada and the other places too. Like there's, okay. So you understand, Callaway. I mean, I always say if anybody knows Callaway, David Ollie, and we did the past podcast, you guys know Callaway, but you're even that next level up. Okay. Yep. So here's a couple of questions for you. So, and I love that you had golf in the background. I'll tell you a story first before we go there, because they like hearing stories. I was playing with Shannon Friday, and a lot of them know Shannon Friday.
I know Shannon. I met him before. Yeah.
I was playing Shannon Friday in a best ball tournament out at Lake of the Ozarks this last year. And it's a 3-day event. And one of the days we got paired with a husband and wife. And she was actually from the UK also. That's why I remember the story, but it was really funny. And she was a better golfer than he was. They're 2 assistant pros at courses out of St. Louis. Okay. And they're different courses, but both assistant pros for their husband and wife. Now, I didn't know they were husband and wife till about the 3rd or 4th hole because they have different last names. But on the 3rd or 4th hole, I realized, okay, they're married. Well, they're playing the round and she's not happy with him. He's not happy with her. She was playing good. He wasn't playing good anyway. And they're talking in about the 15th or 16th hole. And I'm just talking to her, and like you wouldn't a round of golf that's taking 6 hours. And I'm talking to her and I said, how do you guys ever get away from golf? I mean, you're playing in tournaments together. I said, you're talking golf out here. I said, you're both assistant pros. And she goes, you have no idea. And she just like,
Just let rip.
And I looked at Shane, I go, that's the end of our conversation. It's like, I was like, shouldn't have asked that question. Yeah. It was so funny. And he was missing everybody he's looking at. She was just fired up.
Golf will do it to you. Is that right?
But it was just so funny. I mean, I kind of think of you in that because your wife's an assistant coach. Yeah. You're now with Cal, you've been with guys who've been in golf your whole lives. And all of a sudden, how do you get away from it? You know, what I mean?
Two children is how you get away from it.
There you go. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. There you go. Gotcha. So if I'm going to ask you this question, number one, I'm going to ask you this. I get, we've got thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people who, we fit, we work with their fittings. We make sure they're fit for the single plane swing. We've had that conversation and you know what we do. And, but a question we always get is, okay, there's all these differences. We got Callaway, we got Titleist, Cleveland, we got everybody out there. Okay. And one of the questions I get is why Callaway? They come to me and go, why Callaway? And I've been with Callaway for a long time now. And I've always said, and they know this, I say it's because I believe their quality of the product, their technology, product, it's not even close. Yep. It's not even close to the industry. But when I'm saying it, and it almost sounds like a salesperson coming up to them. So whenever I can get the experts in here, like when I had David in here talking or you in here talking, I'm like, let's let them really hear it.
I think
you have to represent this brand. This is your living. This is all you do. Yeah. So tell them why Callaway.
I think what I try to never lose sight of is thinking back to like Mr. Callaway,
right,
and how the company was founded, right?
Right.
I mean, Callaway hickory sticks.
Right.
He took it from that, and then you look along the path it went on, and then the first product you think about is probably the Great Big Bertha, right? So I think back to when I was 16 years old. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to be the best golfer I can be. Mm-hmm. And I go to my mom and dad, say, hey, I really need this. At the time, it was English pounds.
Right.
I really need this driver. And my mom takes me to the golf store. Right. And at the time, there wasn't really much fitting that went on.
No, actually not.
The guy at the store would ask you a couple of questions. You'd be like, this guy's an 8.5.
And he's giving you the same club anyway.
So, and I remember taking her we're going up to the cash register and she literally went white when the guy told her the cost of this thing.
Right.
And she looked at me, she said, you really need this? I said, this will make me the best golfer I can ever be.
Right.
So I just think like, the way the company, I try to always remember that, like what the company's founded on.
Right.
And then where we've come to, like right now we're using AI and the guidance of Chip Brewer.
Right.
You look at just the influence of technologies like the top tracer stuff that we're involved in now. And, and you think like the Great Big Bertha Epic driver.
Right.
I mean, I try to think of it like in terms of like periods of time, right?
Right.
I mean, the Epic driver, I mean, when we got out in driving ranges with that thing and ball speed went up 5-6 miles an hour, I mean, we've never seen that before.
Right.
I think that is the bigger picture of what Callaway is capable of on the technology and the equipment
100%.
front.
It's pretty fascinating because, I go out every year and I go out late in the year to get the next year's product and I go and I love it. And we're proud to say we're the founders of this. Now they have other companies that do it, but we go out every year and meet with the engineers who design the hybrids and design the irons and design the woods. And
you probably see it before me.
Well, no, I know I see it before David does because I always get the call from the rep saying, what is the new stuff?
Yeah.
You seen it? I'm like, I just talked to the engineer.
Yeah.
But and then they always make us swear, you can't put this in a can. You can't, but anyway, but it's amazing how smart these guys are. It's like, I was interviewing, where'd you go to school? MIT. Okay.
Yeah.
And they're having to dumb it down to talk to us.
Can you imagine those guys figuring out how to talk to 80 sales reps?
No, no, I can't. But it's very funny. It's very interesting because number one, you get lost in the technology. Yep. I mean, but you realize then there's no limit to this. I mean, they literally, and I'll give you an example of this. So we went through our different, 12 different stations last year. We went this, and we learned about the irons and the hybrids and the balls. Anyway, okay. And then we have a break for 20 minutes and I'm upstairs. And there's a gentleman there who's an engineer. And we're sitting down on the couch and me and James and him and my media guys are sitting there. And he looks at me and I think James asked the question. He said, so what do you think about the new ball that's going to come out, the limited flight ball for the pros? And this gentleman who's an engineer, who was a driver engineer, looks at him and goes, you want the real story? And we start laughing. We're like, no, we're out here. He goes, we've already designed a driver that will hit that ball longer than they're hitting the ball now.
That's frightening, right?
And he goes, we know the specifics of the ball that they're going to design, and we've got that, and we've already put it in our system, and we can design a driver that will go longer than what they're hitting the ball now, what they're using now. And we're like, okay, there's no way you can win this battle.
Think about what with this new line of elite product.
Yeah.
I mean, the way the product came to where it is now at retail, like when you get into 3D printing prototypes.
Yeah, that was the point.
I mean, in my head, I'm thinking, okay, they run down to the test center.
Right.
They test this 3D printed product.
Right.
Oh, it didn't quite work. Let's go print another one.
Right.
I mean,
whereas
golf
before,
clubs, like
it was a big deal. And some of these companies still use this.
Yeah.
And we won't name names, but there's some of these companies still send it overseas, get this thing created, and they get to go through 4 or 5 generations a year. Yeah. And I asked the guys at Callaway, they said 70 plus. And was like, and they do it in-house now. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
So to like the golfer, like the way I would see that is like, man, this product is literally the best it can be.
Right. No, yeah, absolutely.
Because of the testing it went through.
Absolutely. And the biggest thing that I saw and the thing that excited me, because everybody says, why are you with Callaway? I said 3 reasons. Number one is the quality of the product and the way they represent it. Okay. The quality. They're not putting cheap shafts in here. They're not putting cheap stuff. They don't do that. Okay. And I've seen too many companies do that. Okay. That's number one. Number two is the way they keep up with the technology. Okay. And that literally there's no, you can't find anything out there with higher technology. But the third one that impressed me the most, and this is back to the history of Callaway, real players data. Real players data. Because I'll never forget, my brother and I went, and when this was on with Titleist, and this was probably, this was on the mini tours. And we got to go to the Titleist plant. I was being sponsored by Titleist at the time. And we went to the Titleist plant, and I was going to go through some stuff at the Titleist plant. And I remember walking through this hallway, and I looked over to the right, and I remember this specifically, it was yesterday, and there's 6 sets of clubs lined up in the hallway. And there's these kind of thin blade looking clubs sitting there I'm looking at them, they say Titleist in the back, and I'm like, whoa. And I pick up one of them, and I'm looking at them. This is the best looking thing in my life. And it's a very small bladed head. I mean, I wouldn't dream of hitting it now. I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. And I look on the label on the shaft, and it said Tiger Woods. This was the title, okay? And I look at the guy and I go, when are these coming out? And he goes, they're not. Yeah. Because we took his Nike club, we copied it, made it, put Titleist's name on it. No one will ever see this. And he goes, you didn't officially see this. And I'm like going, okay, this is BS.
Yeah. Because I want to set.
No, I'm like, who wouldn't want to set? Yeah. I'm like, this is the stupidest thing ever. Yeah, no, you follow me here. And I'm like, but nobody will see these just because you want the Titleist name. So Titleist to Nike, guess what? Callaway doesn't. When you see the guys out there playing this stuff, it's the same stuff. Am I right? It's the same stuff.
At some point, you'll be able to get your hands on it.
100%.
So they're a little bit ahead of us, maybe on an iron model or something, but like a TCB act, right? Gets a lot of play on tour, so we make it available to the public.
Right. And then to top that off, when they put all the data in, that's not the data they're using to create their clubs. They're using the data of everyday players.
We call it swing code, right? Like when you can, and I think this is where the technology part plays a huge role, is when you've got a technology at your fingertip like Top Tracer.
Right.
I mean, think of the data you can collect.
Right.
And now we're designing a golf club. Like we're studying people that, let's call it, swinging over the top and wear out the heel of a driver.
Right.
Like the draw model of our product is built based on those swings and how 100%. That golfer delivers the club.
100%. And that's what's interesting, because we have Top Tracer.
Not a robot.
Right. We have, and it's literally, and that's why they said every day more data is going in, every minute more data is going in, and they're analyzing this data.
And I think when you put that with the power and the capability we have with AI,
right,
and the generating new designs and things, you put those two things together, it's a really powerful tool.
I agree. So. And then to top that all off, I think it's just the way it's just represented. Because I know when, guys, I've had hundreds of guys who the carts have fallen off the back of their bag and the driver head snaps off because the cart falls, and the bag snaps, or they hit something in the back swing and bust a dry shaft. And it's not 2 weeks to get their product. It's replaced basically almost overnight. I mean, it's like a day or two, they got the new product.
I think there's a quote that Mr. Callaway used to use. He said, good ethics is good business.
Love it.
And it was like, if in our industry, it makes a lot of sense, right?
Well, I'm going to tell you the story real quick, because Dog isn't going to believe me. David always sitting back here watching this, but he's our rep. He's not going to believe this. We have a massive trade-in, trade-up program. And we literally traded almost $1 million worth of clubs last year in the trade-up trade. Yep. And most people know about that. I got a call, and I will or an email, and I will show him this, of a gentleman who wanted to trade in a set of Callaway hickory shafted clubs last week.
I'll tell the guy I'll buy them from him.
First thing I told him, I said, do not trade these in.
No.
Because I literally wanted to say, for $50. And I was like, I told him, and I'll show you the emails. Awesome. I said, they put them in a case, hang them on your wall, hand them down to your kids,
Yep.
your grandkids. 'Cause,
That's fantastic.
yeah, it was. I mean, but he wanted to trade them in for the next gloves up.
I mean, I'm a golf guy, and I love stuff like that.
Yeah, I know.
I just think it's.
I could not
yeah.
believe it. But
Yeah.
literally, I can share the email on that. And I was like, 99% chance he bought them at a garage sale and just didn't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I was trying to trade them
Right?
in.
Yeah.
But they're
Yeah.
a lot of value. So, I appreciate your time here, but you're going to be doing a lot of traveling.
Oh yeah.
You've already started a lot of traveling, don't you?
Yeah.
In SEC country. So talk to him just the last thing here, because this will be the other question, because I love asking you guys this question. A lot of people that we deal with like to trade in their clubs every year.
Mm-hmm.
They'll call me up in January, February, and I just got hundreds and hundreds of people trading their clubs every year. Tell people what the advantage of that is. I mean, because old golf thought was, you get a set of clubs, you love them, and they last forever, or they last 5, 6, 7 years, or 10 years. You follow me here?
I think it probably goes back to like the technology chat, right?
I agree.
Is when, I mean, we're always striving to make a golf club the best it can be for the golfer.
Right.
Like that's our goal as a company, right?
Right.
The end user, we're trying to help the end user enjoy golf more.
Right.
Right.
So and when you say enjoy golf more, so this is their tool they have in their hand.
Yep.
Mo Norman used to say, throw a club down the ground next to a golf ball, and he'd say, it's that dumb thing, and that dumb thing, that dumb thing. And he'd say, I'm the smart guy here. But then he'd say, you're not, I am. It was one of these demos, but it was always dumb, but it was just a tool. But what Callaway has done is they made this tool so much more user friendly, so much easier to hit with loft, so much easier to hit with forgiveness, and even the golf ball.
Loft and spin and keeping the ball in the air. And then, I mean, you mentioned golf ball too. It's always worth chatting about golf ball, right? Between Chrome Tour, ERC, Super Soft. I mean, we make a golf club for everyone, but we also make a golf ball for everyone.
And that's kind of how I was going to end this, because we're going to give them the teaser real quick, because we're not quite ready to deliver it yet. But the new ERC Soft, which is probably 90% of my clientele, is that's their golf ball. I fit them for golf balls.
It's a great product. Yeah.
And I'm telling you, it was shocking how excited Callaway was and the engineers about this golf ball.
Well, there's two things with it, right? It's the first AI generated golf ball.
There you
right?
go.
But also, you got to remember, it's the first golf ball that we put triple track on too.
Yep. The ERC.
Which myself, I mean, guys like David and I, as we get old and slow, and
it's addictive.
You stop putting with triple track, and you're like, well, I can't do without this thing anymore.
And that's what I asked them, because they took it off the putters. I think they'll come back someday, but they took them off the putters. They go back and forth. I mean, everything changes.
But it's a staple on the golf ball.
And I asked him that. The first thing I asked him is, when's it going to come off the golf ball? And he looked at me and goes, never. He goes, people are addicted to this. He goes,
there's some massive technology just behind those 3 lines.
Huge. A huge technology behind that. But when I went and did the golf ball interview with the engineers this year, and the Chrome Tour, and then they were great. And it was, this is better, this is better. And then I said, well, most of my guys really fit into the ERC. They just went crazy, because they said, you don't understand. We AI technology this ball, first one ever. We did the real players data. We expected to get 40 to 50 more, spin rate on it. And they go, we got 400. And the guy looked at me and goes, we didn't believe it. We thought it was a mistake.
It's our longest golf ball, but also it's
soft.
It's that golf ball that now spins more.
I took it out the other day and compared it. And I'm like going, okay, this was like when I was playing the tour days. So I found that real soft golf ball.
Quick question for you. Do you know what the ERC means?
Callaway. It's got to be Eli Callaway with middle.
Ely Reeves Callaway.
Eli Callaway. And then
Ely Reeves Callaway. Remember
Reeves?
Remember the old ERC driver?
Oh yeah.
Thin faces. So that was kind of cool to bring back that legacy name.
So the ball's named after him. Yeah. So
that's kind of cool, right?
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Anytime you put the founder of the company, or the godfather of the company, or the on the ball, or on a club, like Elite.
Yep.
That's why, when I heard
There's
that.
ELY in
ELY,
there too, right?
yeah. That's why. It's going to be good. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, I probably knew that part for God.
So you got a lot of things going through that head of yours, right?
I just don't travel as much as you guys do. But now, we will be releasing, we've talked about it a lot. I've already sold a little bit of it, but we're going to put it in a broad spectrum. You guys brought the TrueViz back in it, which was very, the soccer ball.
The soccer ball.
The football ball.
Yeah, football. Yeah.
So brought that back.
There's another technology advancement, like
huge.
That came from, I think, Chip chatting with a guy in England, and it's crazy where that technology came.
Have you gone and played with the new ERC yet? Have you got? Because I know it's just been released. Have you been out?
I've played a little bit. We always get when we go to sales meetings, and they're introducing the new product. We get the cool white boxes, the prototypes, and
I get those. But here's the question. So this is interesting. And this player, you say you don't play much now anymore. We always relate our games to the way we used to be.
Yeah.
College player, professional player, obviously mini tour player, could have been tour player. Okay. And you're just sitting in the same category we are. I am. You never lose the feel.
No.
you cannot hit a ball for 6 months and you know the feel. You throw a ball down and you hit it, and it comes out, clicks hard or comes off soft. It can be 2 shots into it and you never lose. Yep. Am I right?
That's one of the beauties of that golf ball too.
That's it. Yep. So the second I put that new ERC soft in, I was like, whoa, that feels there. It's like, whoa, this is different. And it was different.
Well, we've all been through it, right? I'll say another company's name, but the old Tour Ballata ball, right? I mean, and that's kind of where, you think about where Super Soft and Chrome Soft and how our golf ball has evolved.
Yeah.
There's a soft component in there, right? In every product category. So
I'm going to give you my last story. Dog's going to crack up on this. David Dog is going to laugh. He's going to die on this one. So when we're at Oklahoma State, they used to go hit balls. This is before Dog's time, and it probably still happened when he was there, but we used to have a field next to Lakeside we'd pound balls in. And we'd have our shag bags. We'd pound the balls in the shag bags. And there was an old gentleman who lived across from the hospital who would go shag this field. What's that? Yeah, and he'd buy your balls back from him, okay? So he'd roll back because you lose the balls. Deal. Am I right? Was he there with you, David, or was he, okay? You buy your balls back from him, okay? And they were the Tour Bladas. That's what I got. So I had Tour Bladas. Well, one day I'm sitting there and my Tour Bladas are all muddy and they're all dirty. And one of the guys one of my associations up there said, just throw them on the top of your dishwasher and just wash them in there. Just throw them on the top and wash them. The problem was I put the heat cycle on.
You melt all your golf balls.
Everyone. They looked like literally United States footballs, not your football. Melted everyone. So I have 100 basically brand new Blas I got from this guy.
Oh, that hurts.
Had Pistol Pete on them and they're just melted, look like eggs.
That hurts. Yeah.
Hurt?
It's awesome.
Beyond hurt. It's a college kid who can't afford a burger.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah.
You put them in the dishwasher with a cold cycle.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I love that.
But but the ERC felt like that. That's what the new ERC soft, and everybody's gonna hear it there. So we'll end it this way. So you're talking to single plane golfers. You're talking to the guys out there right now. We do the fittings through Callaway and everything. You can promise me that Callaway's going to try to keep up with the technology and stay up where they are, and they're not going to get any slower, are they? They're not going to slow down.
That is one thing that we are committed to is R&D.
Right.
If there's anything about Callaway and the equipment side of the business,
right,
R&D is at the forefront of everything.
Yeah,
so you can trust that we're doing everything we can to max out the performance of golf clubs for your student.
Right.
Yep. No question.
Every time somebody asks me, and I get this a lot, they'll say, have you heard about this club? Have you heard about this? Why aren't you trying this? Why aren't you going here? And I go, because they may be kind of popular now. They're not, trust me, the technology's not behind it. But in 2 or 3 years, you won't even know who they are. It's just so true, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And Callaway's a staple. It isn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
It's just not. And
it's, being a golf guy, like it's still the favorite part of my job.
Yeah.
Is when they show us new product.
Oh yeah.
Like it's still,
of course,
even doing it for however long, like it's still exciting to pull the curtain up, put the PowerPoint slide up, whatever it is. Like that's still a big thrill of the business. Right. Yeah.
And the last time that happened with me, when you guys invited me out to one of your national conferences, like I think they gave me an award. I don't remember, and Chip Brewer got up on the stage, who's the CEO of Callaway. This is how long ago it was. And he goes, I'm going to show you guys something. This is going to freak you out. He goes, would you ever have seen the day you put a Titleist Pro V up on this huge camera that was yellow? And he goes, would you ever have dreamed there'd be a yellow
We made them do it.
We're made them do it. We're rocking the industry. Everybody in the room went crazy.
This is one of the biggest compliments we ever got.
We were wearing these lanyards that lit up and they're all up in yellow. It was awesome. Yeah. And he goes, would you ever see the day they put yellow? Yeah. And he goes, we're rocking the industry. It's true. Yeah. And we're pushing the industry. And I thought it was awesome. So, well, thank you for your time. We'll have to do this again.
No, this has been awesome learning about the business, seeing the facility and getting a chat with all your people here. That's awesome.
They love this. So they'll love the accent. I know Ollie's sitting there right now going, yes,
England.
We can really talk real football.
No, thank you for having me, and thanks for all you do for Callaway, and thank you to everyone that supports the company.
We appreciate you coming in and safe travels, and hope we see you here real soon.
Yeah, we'll do.
Thanks.
All right.